Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Saturday night. This is going to be a great show tonight. Great scrimmage today. The captains were named. It is officially Jack Sawyer, Trey Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, and Cody Simon as your four captains for the 2014 Ohio State Edition team. Kudos to Ryan Day. There was a lot of speculation between to 6 or 8 captains. It's something that these guys have to develop with Denzel Burke and guys like Will Howard that could have been captains, but I think they made the right choice. A smaller group is always better. Huge scrimmage today in the shoe. Guys get after it pretty good. The defense had the edge, but we're getting some of the O-line back, so that's good. We're going to talk about all of that. Nevada is not with us tonight, so this will be a Scoop Ultra chat. So if you have a question, again, I'm going to put something in the comments right now. If you have a question and you're a Scoop Ultra member, toss in a bunch of asterisks, and this is a Scoop Ultra chat officially. So this will be a really, really nice night to get your questions answered. So all of our Scoop Ultra members, type in some asterisks in front of it so I can find it a little bit easier. But I appreciate all you guys being a part of this show, being a part of this program. What a great day for the Buckeyes. Cody Simon is officially the Block O recipient this year. They've done this the last few years. It's something Ryan started to honor Bill Willis, the late, great Bill Willis, who was 99. He will wear the 0 jersey this year. So very excited for Cody. He's a guy who's come a long way, persevered through a lot of things. So we're going to talk about that as always and take your questions. So if you guys have any questions, again, the super chats are a great part of our Pay It Forward. Our Pay It Forward has been absolutely on fire. We've signed up a lot of new members that are people that are part of the the community that is our armed forces. We've opened it up to paramedics. We've opened it up to police officers, firefighters. We appreciate you guys. If you guys have any candidates for that, please send that forward to buckeyescoop@gmail.com. All that we request is that we do get an ID that verifies who they are, what branch they've served under, or where they actively work at. And it's an easy way for them to get a buckeyescoop.com membership that has been paid for by our community, paying it forward to the people that protect us and serve us. So again, we appreciate all of you guys. We are very much about standing up for our country on buckeyescoop.com. So we appreciate that as always. But as we keep rolling into this, again, our scrimmage today was very interesting. There's a lot of I get a lot of tidbits, intel. We had a really, really nice nugget on buckeyescoop.com from the helping technician that broke down kind of what went on at the scrimmage today. The scrimmage was a move it scrimmage. Move it means that they do sets where like the first offense, second offense, third offense, they all go. And basically they play it like a game. So it's like, first down, second down, third down, moving the chains. If you don't convert, there's a point system. If you do convert, there's a penalty. So the defense is very competitive in these things. It's been very interesting because the offensive line has been decimated by the hand, foot, and mouth epidemic, along with the fact that Donnie Jackson has suffered a lower body injury and he has missed a lot of practice. He did not go today, obviously. I think there's a shot that he could miss a couple of the first games. Again, when you're playing Akron, Western Michigan, you have an All-American guard. Do you want to risk him going into the season? I'm not sure. So with the injury that he has, I think that is something where you have to really caution and really take care of the kid. He's a really good player. You're playing two teams that frankly aren't they're not good enough to beat our second string, let alone our first string. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how they manage Donnie going forward. But Austin Seyerveld has stepped in very nicely at both left tackle and left guard today with the ones. Did a really good job. He's a big kid. He's 6'5", he's 310. He's out of Lakota East. But he's really, really come on strong. And the way I look at a lot of these scrimmages is the fact that when you're rolling through your guys, you're rolling through the guys that are, in the mix with the first and second team. You're looking at who can play, who can't play. And I think that if you want a silver lining with this disease that has kind of struck at us during camp, is that you can look and say, well, we were able to get a look at some guys that are really, really good players, but they might not have gotten reps versus the first team D line. They might not have rolled into the one huddle. But Austin Seyerveld is the guy who's taking advantage of those opportunities. I think Tigger Shishkabola is the guy. Carson Hinsman and Tigger are still in a very feisty competition right now between the two of them to see who can be the starting right guard this year. But, Carson missed a bunch of practice with this affliction. And I think that Tigra has taken advantage of the reps that he's gotten with the first team. I don't think that it's a closed book yet. I think that, Tigra still has to take another step. Justin Fry, from what I was told, was very, very fiery today. He was getting after the players. The D line is largely intact. JT had a nick early in camp, and he is back. But him and Jack Sawyer and Ty Lake, the older guys are pretty limited in these scrimmages. They're not trying to get these guys dinged. There are some guys that are being held out, and they're managing the reps. Which I think, when you're Ryan, and you look at these scrimmages. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Jim Knowles, I think that they're under an agreement where it is all basically treated. It's treated like kind of like a preseason NFL game where you don't see the starters playing longer than a drive or two. They get a little bit of spot work, make sure that they're feeling, frisky and they've got their legs under them and they know what's going to go. But when you're doing these scrimmages on a Saturday in the shoot, you're trying to figure out who are my backups, who are the guys that can go in a pinch if something happens to Jack or JT. So Kenyatta Jackson had a very nice day. Caden Curry had a deflection on a pass that was converted into an interception. So Caden has been flashy. Caden's a guy that he's year 3 now. Same with Kenyatta. These are guys that we need to count on going forward. Guys that I think have a lot of upside. And again, I think they have some pass rushing juice. If you want to get into some configurations where you potentially move JT into like a 3 technique defensive end, defensive tackle / rush role, and you bring in Caden, JT, Jack, and Tyler, I think that that's compelling to look at. But Caden, when he gets in, he's very productive, and he proved it again today. There's some guys that are frankly magnetic when it comes to getting to the ball, forcing turnovers, intercepting passes. It's something that I think is a much different ball of wax compared to other guys. And again, that's why I always emphasize that scrimmages and games are much different from just a traditional practice because guys can really get into a rhythm. When you're moving the field and you're driving. And you need to get a stop or you need to, shut a team down. Who are the guys that can kind of step up to the plate? And Caden Curry has proven that he can do that again with that deflection into an interception today. It was a critical moment in the scrimmage. The defense rallied around that. So I think that, guys that are disruptive in scrimmages, it generally translates into being disruptive for a game. So that was a really, really nice thing to see. The linebackers have been very, very strong between, with James Lornice and what he's brought to the room. I don't think anybody on the team has benefited more from a coach being elevated or brought in than Cody Simon has. Cody Simon is a kid who we've been high on, for Buckeye Scoop, we've been high on for about 3-4 years now because of his explosion. We saw his testing numbers early in his career. He had some very severe shoulder injuries early on. But we were very high on him. Again, this is hilarious, but we had people on our site, helping technician Nevadabuck that compared him to AJ Hawk, with his mannerisms, his explosion, his production. Obviously, he hasn't been anywhere near AJ through the first few years of his career due to injuries and due to being sucked behind steel chambers with Tommy Eichenberg. But I think that, when you look at what he can do, it's impressive. I think Cody Simon is a guy who, again, we are as bad as there is in the United States of America at promoting athletes. I mean, Cody should have been on the Buckeye watch list. CJ Hicks and Sonny were. But I think that they're going to look back. They're going to see the total tackles. They're going to see the impact. They're going to see he's a captain. He's block O. I think that his floor is first team All Big Ten. I think his ceiling is first team All American out of Cody, because again, he's not just a guy who's like some, random senior plugger guy that can, kind of get the job done and get guys lined up. He's a guy that's an impact, explosive, freaky athlete with an Army type mindset. Again, his folks were, in the armed forces, so he was raised a different type of way, a lot like JT Barrett. Very, very, very tough, very, very, very smart. And I think that when you put a guy like Sonny Salas next to him, I think that there's nothing in the world that could be better for Sonny than having Cody Simon line up next to him and teach him how to be a pro, along with CJ Hicks, along with Gabe Powers, along with Peyton Pierce. Peyton had another good day today. Peyton his stock has been rising rapidly. He's a guy that I think you need to look out for on special teams. And I always tell these people that follow Ohio State football, if you are a young linebacker, you should never redshirt. No, there's no good linebacker in Ohio State's history that's redshirted, in my opinion. And in general, they're always on kickoff, kick return, punt. They're always playing teams. They're on punt return. They're guys that can get out there. AJ Hawk did that. Bobby Carpenter did that. DeAndre did that. And those are guys that they're just like, we got to get them on the field, get their nose, get their nose in the action. And I think that's what Peyton's going to be. I think Peyton's going to be a special teams ace this year. He'll grow into being a Mike linebacker, a quarterback, a guy who can read things, a guy who has, exquisite talent at diagnosing a play, which again, when you get to college, a lot of the issues that come from big time linebackers is, do they have real instincts, or were they just feeding off natural ability, and they weren't playing against great competition, so that could kind of be like a giant deodorant stick that would cover up their ability to get to where they needed to go, and get people lined up. And Peyton's a guy who, he has the total package. I think he's got a monstrous upside, and I think that I'm just really excited to see him. So offensively, it was good today in the scrimmage. We had a bunch of our linemen back. So we had Josh Simmons was back, George Fitzpatrick was back, Carson's back there battling. And again, when these guys had this hand, foot, and mouth disease, it was troubling, because I think that a lot of the coaches were trying to hold these guys out, kind of a la COVID. And there were guys that were trying to practice that weren't allowed to practice, and they were kind of keeping their distance from the team. So again, when you're fighting for a starting job or a backup job, not practicing, it's not even suboptimal. It is as bad as it could ever be. So I think that's it's frustrating, but these guys have to get their timing down. And again, when you get thrown into the mix of a scrimmage, you haven't practiced very much in the last couple of weeks. Like it's hard to have your sea legs under you, because again, football conditioning is exceptionally difficult to get used to. Again, the only way you get ready to play football is to play football, which I know that sounds like the ultimate cliche, but you can't run on a treadmill. You can't do the Stairmaster. You can't run half gassers. Like eventually you have to go play football to be ready to play football. So when these guys were, in the training room and training by themselves and kind of off to the side, it is very, very suboptimal for getting ready for an all Big Ten type season like I think Jimmy Simmons is going to have. But you have to get your timing down. Again, I think that playing offensive line is the hardest position in all of football, because you can't get the feel for run blocking, combination blocking, which is usually like a double team, pass protection, a guy rushing you off the edge. Like, in the offseason, they don't really do that full steam, full speed in pads, with bull rushes and whatever. That doesn't really happen till camp. So it's much different than playing receiver, where these guys play, these guys have, quarterback receiver throwing sessions, and they do one-on-ones versus DBs all summer. Like, it's not the same on the O-line, because the O-line, D-line is so physical that you can't really get a really good feel for it until you get into camp. So I think that the line is behind, and I think that that's why the defense has been ahead, is because you've seen a lot of the guys that are second and third team type guys on the O line being elevated to the first and second team. And then they have to see the best guys that we have. And our defense is ferocious. It's as good as we've ever had at Ohio State between JT, Jack Sawyer, the whole Ty Leak, the whole crew. It's tough when a lot of these guys are stepping up into the first huddle for the first time. They got to block those guys. So, again, this is a Scoop Ultra night. So if you guys have any questions, I know that there's some David Sanders stuff going on. With David Sanders, I don't really know what to make of it. I know that he obviously he ended up at Tennessee, which is something that we kind of projected going forward. There's not been a ton of good vibes regarding Ohio State recently, but I don't want to bang on the kid, but I know that, when you're 4 hours away and it's a 4 hour drive to go to Tennessee from where he's at in the Carolinas, it's a different world. And I don't know how you recruit against that. I don't know if it's something where you just go into the schematics of it. But I think with David Sanders Jr., he's kind of part of a long line of guys that have been lured to other schools based on, NIL, and there's been a lot of radical stuff that's been proposed that he was offered by Tennessee, a suite, a howl, his family gets a house, he gets, a 7-figure deal, which could all be good. And again, I've been told what he asked for was something much more substantial than that from Ohio State, to the point where I literally said, look, I just let him go, as much as he'd be a great ad. And again, people, it's very fashionable to beat on Justin Fry for a lot of this, but I just don't know. When I heard about what he asked for, it would be hard if I was sitting in the O-line room and I was Ryan Day and I was a lot of these people. I don't know if I could really, go to the wall and say, hey, this is what we need to match, because you have to understand when you do something and you match a deal, or this is what the kid wants, or he wants, family, again, like the rumors, the kid got a suite at Tennessee, he got an NIL deal, family got a house. You have to get to the point where that's where a lot of these kids are going to want. So once one kid gets a suite, the suites at Ohio Stadium are exceptionally expensive. So when all of a sudden a kid wants a suite, and if somebody actually grants them a suite, well, then you have to figure out, well, what do we need to know? And again, for me, if I'm Justin Fry and I'm Ryan Day and I'm Mark Pantoni, I'm like, well, let's just focus on this year. Let's focus on 24. Let's see how we do. See how far along we get. Let's see if we, win the Big Ten, get in the playoffs, win the national championship, and let's see if the chips fall where they may. Because I just think that when you're dealing with a kid who makes these kind of audacious requests, I think that at some point you have to evaluate the room, evaluate where your program is, and say, okay, well, if we grant him all of his wishes, if we're a genie and we say you get to have this and have that and have this and have that, eventually a lot of these kids are going to want to match that. And again, when you get down the slippery slope that he was on, I'm like, dude, if you match that for all these 5-star kids, man, it is going to be insanely expensive. I mean, you can't match this. The suite alone is a deal breaker to me, just because I know how much those things cost. But it'll be fascinating. Again, I don't sweat offensive line recruiting. If you said, Kirk, you get to be the O-line coach and kind of take over what's going on, I'd say, well, let's go get a guy out of the portal every year and let's go recruit 3 or 4 guys that are from Ohio or from the Midwest and see how it all shakes out. Because with the modern portal era, I think you're going to see, if you take 5, you're going to see 2 transfer out no matter what. So you're already at 40% gone. And then, hopefully 2 out of the 5 that you bring in are all Big Ten, Ohio State type caliber dudes. So then you can kind of match up with everything. But I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting ride going forward. And again, Tennessee could vomit all over themselves. It's like when kids have committed to Florida or Miami, they've chased NIL money. It might not ever show up. So it'll be very fascinating to see kind of what goes on. Because I think that with David Sanders, again, he's a kid that we were in on. We liked him. But I think at the end of the day, the pull of the, being close to home, being a 4-hour drive from Charlotte to Knoxville was something that was really hard for us to overcome. And again, they stepped up. They gave him, again, I don't think that they gave him everything that was rumored between the suite and I would doubt the money, but when you get into giving these kids a luxury suite at Leland or at Neyland Stadium, it's like I don't know how you're supposed to match that because once you do that once, these kids are going to end up going, and when you get a 5-star kid coming in, and say, well, you gave this kid a suite, do I get a suite? And you only have so many suites, and those things are expensive. They're very expensive, and generally you have to put in a huge donation to be able to just access the suite. So it's not like you're just paying for the suite. You have to access the suite, and then give it to them. And again, I don't know if they're sitting at a donor suite, but that was the rumor. Again, if you guys have any ultra chats, this will be an ultra chat tonight. So throw some asterisks in front of the question, and I will go with that. Again, I appreciate you guys that are warding off the trolls, which is Kim tonight. Akeem as well. I got Pooh Beard on here. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being an Ultra member. And thank you. Make this a little bit bigger. I don't know why that's so small. Again, this is so funny. When we start the software up, sometimes I never know why it's going to be so small. Pooh Beard 12, thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the Ultra chat. I hope you're doing good tonight. I'm ecstatic with our number one class, but we whiffed on all of our top targets after Pettijohn on 7-8. This is 3 to 4 years now with great starts that fizzled out in July. Cause how to course correct. Well, it's hard to go back 3-4 years when the coaching staff has pretty dramatically changed. So I think that, for me, I might go back the past 2 years. I think that, the staff has gotten better in recruiting, adding James Laurinaitis and adding Carlos Loughlin. But, our NIL is strong. I think that our, what we have going on outside of Ohio State is strong. We still have the number one quarterback in the country. Tavion St. Clair is the number one player in the country, according to Rivals. So, really, I think that the difference between, what you're talking about with we whiffed on all of our top targets after Pettijohn on 7-8, I think a lot of it just comes down to the O-line. The fact that, we didn't get Dave. If we got Dave Sanders Jr. today, I don't think we get this question. But I would look hard at the recruiting department and see if they want to get more active about recruiting. Again, I know that a lot of the recruiting department now is just basically a concierge to NIL people and, this kid wants this Range Rover with this color calipers, and they have to scream and cry to make sure that the kids that need the right Range Rover or Hellcat are getting that done. So I would get back to having like a recruiting department that was going to actually, really work and try to get to know the kids and develop a relationship and try to enhance it. Because, if I was Ryan Day and I've seen the deficiency in O-line recruiting over the last few years, I would say, well, why don't we just hire like a dedicated specialist that just deals with O-line and say, hey, let's hire a guy. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if we can, bolster this and close the gap. And again, I don't know, like with David Sanders, who was blubbering and crying at his signing ceremony about his family. And again, very, very cute, great family, very, very happy for him, whatever. But he was up there, like really, really stressing out about leaving home. And he was crying and, hey, little sister, make sure you know that you can visit me whenever you want. And to me, like, as easy as it is to point out that Charlotte is not that far from Columbus and it's a super easy flight, like, to me, you got to look at the fact that, well, Knoxville's a 4-hour car drive. So how do you defeat that? Is that something you can beat? Because Ohio State has been the bridesmaid for a lot of these big-time 5-star tackles, and I think that upsets people. So I would hire somebody to get to the bottom of it and try to figure out how, why are we losing these kids? How can we be better? Is there something that's more efficient to get to gaining these kids, to get David Sanders and Samson Okunlola? Is it pure NIL? Is it pure just location? And I've said for a long time that a lot of these kids are mama's boys and they don't like to leave home. And like I said, David Sanders Jr. is like the ultimate. He's a prototype of what I've always talked about. Super talented, super athletic, big kid, but he's a mama's boy. He's up there blubbering and crying and mama, I love you and you're my best friend. Which again, that is great. I'm not denigrating that. Don't say, oh, Kirk's some big meanie and he's making fun of a guy that loves his mom. But again, a lot of these guys don't like to go close from him. And again, I wasn't in his position. I was a 3-star guy. But with that being said, I didn't want to leave my mom behind. My mom was 2 hours away. Nice and easy drive down, Route 30 to 71 from Massillon to Columbus. If I'd have gone to Stanford, which was my number 2, it's a 7-hour flight through 2 different spots, and it's terrible to get to. I mean, I wanted to go to Northwestern. I want to go to Stanford. I want to go to Vanderbilt. None of those are as easy as Columbus. Columbus 2 hours away from Canton, super easy to get to. Super easy for my family to get to. So again, that at the end of the day, and obviously Ohio State won the national championship my senior year, so it was kind of a no-brainer because they checked every box. But if they hadn't have been good, would my decision-making process had been a little bit better or different? I don't know. But with David Sanders, I think that the Georgia culture didn't really reflect well on him. He really liked Tennessee. They showed him a lot of love, and they were just way closer than us. And I really think distance killed us on this one. And again, people will say, well, Justin Fry's lazy, and he sucks, and Mark Pantoni sucks, and Ryan Day sucks, and none of these guys are talented enough to get these 5-star tackles. But I don't know. Like, I think if Justin Fry worked for Tennessee, like, he'd be signing David Sanders Jr. today, and people think he's some sort of a genius pariah. But when you're the further away school, again, I've lived this. Unless it's a kid the kids that travel sometimes, like Samson Okunlola was a kid from Jersey who ended up going to the Miami Hurricanes. Like, if there isn't a local school that is a powerhouse, then I can see a kid, having a chance to get out of there. Like Samson Okunlola is not going to go to Rutgers or Pitt or Penn State. Like, he wanted to go somewhere where it could be more dominant. And plus, he got offered a lot of money in NIL money, which will be interesting to see if that Life Wallet deal comes through or not. But it'll be interesting to see if these Miami Hurricanes that signed Justin Scott, Samson Okunlola, bounce back as the Life Wallet stuff is going sideways, because Life Wallet with John Ruiz is it's very sketchy right now. Very, very good chance that they close their doors. So it'll be kind of fascinating to see what's going on going forward, because I think that there's some of these Hurricanes that could be bouncing back and being Buckeyes in the next year or so. So I'm going to keep scrolling and seeing if I have any other Ultra chats. Again, I appreciate you guys getting with us on Saturday night. Nevada, if you guys are hockey fans, Nevada had a very good day. So the World Juniors was a big deal for him today. And it was a great day for a Buckeye Scoop. So I'm going to leave it at that. Googs, I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Where do these locker and training room type emanating viruses get started and then addressed? That is a great question. I have no clue. And again, I know that this is not a cop-out answer, but, it takes one guy. And I think that the guy, I think that, there was a guy, I know the guy that founded the virus and brought it into the team. I'm not going to name him because I'm not that guy, but I know exactly how it started. I know how it spread. He had it. They started practice. He got in. It spread like wildfire. And there were a lot of guys who all of a sudden had bumps on their hands and arms and in their mouth. And they had to, kind of screen everybody. And they had the O-line meeting out on the the practice field at the Woody Hayes, spread out in chairs like it was COVID again. So um, it was a very weird time. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it spawns from. I know that it's unfortunate because again, if I was competing for a job and I had like a couple bumps in my arm, they said, "Oh, you have this crazy disease and whatever," I'd say, "I don't have it. I want to practice, whatever." And again, when it's a communicable disease, like all of a sudden, um, they worry about the whole team falling apart. So they send you home. They say don't hang out with your friends, don't hang out with any of your teammates, and don't be a super spreader, whatever. But it kills guys like Carson Hinsman's the guy who's missed a bunch of time, and he was battling with Tigra, but Tigra didn't miss any time. So magically, Tigra he's kind of the chalky favorite to be the starting week one guard at right guard, which that doesn't mean he's going to be the starter for the whole season. It just means he's a starter for week one. But when Carson has to miss a bunch of practice because of this disease, which again, this isn't like leprosy, this isn't like cancer, this isn't some crazy debilitating thing. This is something that most people could probably just get through, but they were so paranoid at Ohio State about it spreading that all of a sudden they sent kids home and they said, "Hey, you're not gonna do this, you're not gonna be around, whatever." So it really opens the door for a lot of your potential competition like Tigra to go win your spot. And again, this is something where I've told people like, look, Tigra might be the starting right guard for week one. And again, I'm rooting for Tigra. I hope Tigra's great. I hope he's dominant. I hope he's an all Big Ten guard and a road grader like people project him out to be. But he's got to go put it on the field now. Like, I mean, there's a lot of guys that win jobs in camp, and after 2-3 weeks of the regular season, it gets switched around. And the beauty about this schedule with Akron and Western Michigan opening up against Ohio State is that these guys all of a sudden, they'll have a couple scrimmages. They're going to get graded. And, guys can pass the smell test and grade out great. And there's also guys that could maybe not, maybe kind of throw up on themselves. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens going forward with the guys that are named starters and the guys that aren't. Again, I think that, camp to me, like Jim Tressel, who is one of my biggest advocates, one of my best friends, like guys like a father to me, always talked about, well, when you open with a schedule like this, like you don't really stop doing training camp the whole beginning of the year. Like, I mean, when you're playing Akron and Western Michigan, you basically can keep practicing hard going into those games. You don't have to back it down on the guys. Like when you're ready to play Texas, like we did in 05, like he had to back it down a little bit, make sure we're healthy, make sure we're not beat to tar. But I think that's one of the benefits to what is going on with our team. Julie, I appreciate you, my girl. She's on here. She says, she sent me a quote. Says David Sanders literally said, I feel like Tennessee recruited me a little harder. That's why I can't ride with Ryan Day, and he's just not a killer. I don't know. I don't know if that's real or if that's just fake, but maybe it is. I don't know. But David Sanders Jr. losing or missing out on going to Ohio State is a huge loss on his part. Again, when he's the guy that loves Paris Johnson Jr. and he's gotten to know Monica Daniels, Paris's mom, I think you have to figure out that, if you really want to be Paris Johnson Jr., why not get on the exact same track? Like Paris is not a trailblazer. We've had a lot of first round tackles at Ohio State. We have Taylor Decker, Orlando, Corey, but that expires. Taylor has been a first rounder since the 2016 draft, but Paris was a first rounder 2 years ago. He's in year 2 in the NFL. He's a guy who's going to be making $35 million a year as a tackle for the Cardinals, a starting left tackle, superstar franchise guy. So why would you not want to follow that? I know that Tennessee had a first round right tackle a couple years ago with the Bears. He is not very good. I've watched a lot of his tape. So it's fascinating to see why he would pick that. I get it if you're chasing cash, if it's kind of one of those deals where you're looking at how can I get my family in a suite and get them a house and whatever. And, and there's no law that says we can't match that. But again, you have to understand when you're going through this process, if you match that with a kid like this, who's a good player, 5-star player, number one tackle in the country, like you're going to have to start matching that with everybody. And that is going to be, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm telling you, when you're dealing with a lot of these kids that are, they're from disadvantaged households, they're from South Florida, they're from wherever, like it's a slippery slope. I mean, I know what this kid was asking for, and it was way more than a suite. It was way more than a house. It was way more than that. Because I think that deep down, he always wanted to go to Tennessee because it's a 4-hour drive. Georgia was out early because of the culture. That's something that we reported before anybody. But I think that when you look at everything that was going on with Ohio State and, the way that they handle NIL and the way that they handle development, I think that they had a good play here. And again, I know that everyone's going to be upset and disheveled and how did we ever survive without this guy? But I think that's where we're at. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll have a very nice, a nice team. And again, the thing I always get back to with the NIL stuff and in recruiting is if you offer David Sanders a huge number, 7 figures, and then he gets a house and say you match the rumored deal that was with Tennessee, a house, a suite, any other gyrations that happen. How does that affect the locker room this year on this year's team? When you have guys like Josh Fryer, Josh Simmons, Jack Sawyer, JT2 and Maloau, and they're just like, wow, this guy that's never played it down in college football, a guy who's from South Carolina, he's not a Buckeye, he's not from Ohio State, and this is all the stuff he's getting, but then my parents have to do this, or this is what I got. Like I think that that's kind of the law of unintended consequences with this type of thing. So it'll be very interesting to see how he pans out. Again, I think that he'll go to Tennessee. He'll probably play early. I'm sure that they'll try to put him out there, but heavy is the head that wears the crown when you get the type of deal that he got. In my opinion, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he pans out, what he can do. But it'll be good again. But this was, a day for Ohio State. Like again, I'm a guy that's very big on this year. I don't care about next year. I don't care about transfer portal. I don't care about anything in the future. I care about 24, and he's not joining the roster this year. He's going to join it next year. And we'll be okay. Like again, if we don't get him, then that opens up salary cap space for us to go get a guy in the portal. And again, if I ran the show, I'd say, look, I'd spend 75% of our money on the portal and 25% on recruiting, because as much as you want to take care of kids that are coming in from high school, give me kids that have proven they can play in college and be productive. Because I think that is the meta going forward in college football. Because then when you can go out and get Quinshon Judkins, and Quinshon was out today during the scrimmage. He was dinged up on Thursday, upper body injury. He will not miss any substantial amount of time, but they're going to be very careful. A lot like JT. Like JT missed practice a couple days ago because he got dinged up with an upper body injury. So they're very cautious with these guys that have been through some of these upper body deals. So I think when you look at what these guys can do going forward, like I don't know. Like as much as I would love to have landed David Sanders Jr., like to have the rumored deal that he's been offered leak to the current team, I think is a negative. If for some reason we would have matched Tennessee's offer with the 7-figure NIL and a suite and a house, like I just don't know how that plays in the current locker room. I really don't. So I'm glad that, I'm not glad that we didn't get him, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. Because again, all I care about is the 24 Buckeyes, because I think these guys are going to be absolutely fantastic. And they're going to do great stuff. Well, this might be a little shorter tonight. I don't think we have any other super chats. If you have any other super chats, please repost them. I'm scrolling through chat. I don't think I see too many. It's a Saturday night. There's a huge UFC fight. And Kim could be going into labor at any point. So this might be a shorter show. But I appreciate you guys. Any other super chats on my way out the door before I lock this out? Yep. No, Patrick, we had to talk about the scrimmage. Go back to the beginning of the show. We talked about the scrimmage initially. The defense won today. We did a really nice job. Our O-line is been decimated, but we're getting guys back. They're getting their sea legs under them. Donnie is still out, so he's grinding along. Let me see. Get my girl Kim sending me a super chat. Buck Vader, appreciate you, my man. Thank you. He says, Kirk, I'm a Steeler. Sorry, I'm from East Liverpool. Go Potters, as always. I like Fields over Wilson. Do you agree? Also, if I can figure out how to send pics of my OC collection, would the Scoop fam like to see? Yeah, Buck Vader, join BuckeyeScoop.com. We have a pretty nice collectors thread on there, which is really cool to see what everybody has. But I think Fields ends up beating up Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson will start week 1 for the Steelers, but after that, it's going to be game on for Jay Fields to take the spot. So I think it's going to be it's one of the more predictable threads for me when you look at is Justin Fields going to beat out Russell? I think Russell's washed. I think Justin is hungry. I think Justin getting his option declined and kind of how he went out at USC, or excuse me, at Chicago, it really would leave a stain to me when you're looking at how some of these guys are traded. Again, I love studying quarterbacks, and I think that if Justin Fields would have had Keenan Allen along with Rome Odunze and the whole things that they've done for Caleb Williams, like he would have been much better, but they didn't give him the cut, DeAndre Swift. I mean, they really upgraded the infrastructure for Caleb. So I think Caleb is going to be phenomenal. So I think he won the Rookie of the Year, but Justin didn't have that. Justin got beaten to a pulp. So I think they'll have Russell start. I think he'll fail miserably, and I think that they'll need Justin's legs to carry them. But Justin is he's a very sexy pick for a guy that could be a kind of a late round steal. I wish the Browns would have traded for him, honestly. Like, I mean, for a 6th round pick, whatever they got from the Steelers, it's almost crazy at this point. Give me 1 second, guys. I think I hear Kimbo. Make sure that we are not going to the hospital. Cool. All right, we're back. Who I have in UFC 305. Dagestan Poppy's got some really good picks. So, again, this thing is going to be rolling along. I don't know if you guys follow Dagestan Poppy on Twitter, but he has been killing the game. So, Dagestan Poppy is, he's got his picks are Carlos Prates, Prates, at minus 210. And then Stuart Nickel at minus 170. He's betting pretty heavy on both those, so those are 2 easy ones. I like Drakus, man. I think he's going to run through Izzy. I think Izzy's washed, but that is just my opinion. So it'll be very interesting to see what goes down there. Best one to toss that on there. Let me see what else I got. I got Barb. I appreciate you, my girl. I hope you had a great birthday. Again, they've been all as well. We have a lot out in NIL. How does it compare to Tennessee? They may have all the assets to throw at one guy. I think it's similar. Again, I think that just because you have the money and you have the ability to match something, if something is insane, I don't think that you need to match it. But again, I'm not trying to, I'm not cheap. I like to spend. I'm that dude. But I also, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's a fine line. There's spending money and there's wasting money. And you have to understand, like, with every, reaction of, say, hey, we're going to spend this. Hey, we're going to match this deal. Hey, we're going to match what Tennessee's doing, what Oregon's doing. Like, that kind of resets the room. That resets the team. There's a lot of negative that come with that. Like, I mean, when I talked about some of the guys on the active roster and what they were making versus what some of these recruits are potentially making, I'm like, well, I don't think that that's great, especially because, again, I'm all focused on 24. Not makes this for David Sanders Jr., but when you're offering a house, a suite, 7 figures, and like the kid's never proven he can play college football, like, I think that's crazy. Now, if a kid is Caleb Downs, let's talk. If a kid's Quinshon Judkins, all SEC, let's talk. But when a kid's never proven he can play college football, and I don't know, that's just me. Like, if this kid was a all conference guy and he wanted to come to Ohio State and play left tackle next year, and he's callous and he's had a really nice career in college, then I'm a lot more excited about paying him. Like, I'm good with paying Caleb Downs. I'm good with paying Will Howard, Quinshon. Those are guys that have been productive. They've been all conference guys. I mean, Quinshon was first team all SEC last year, and he's our starting running back now. So good with that guy. If it's a high school running back who's from wherever and you don't know what he's going to do and has to interact with money, then that's a little bit more sketchy to me, but that's just my opinion. Pooh Bear 12, thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the Ultra chat. I know that he really loves what he does currently, and I know that he'd be offered service for free. It was turned down. But is there money something that could get LaCharles to be the O-line coach? Of course. LaCharles will be on here next week. LaCharles, I talked to him today. It's all pending Kim's birth and the birth of Kirk Barton coming into the world. But LaCharles will be on here next week. And, LaCharles is a guy who, you want to talk about a guy as sharp as razors in the O-line world, LeChuck. I mean, he's the guy that is the kingmaker. He's the guy that made Taylor Decker $150 million, Elfline, Billy Price. I mean, he's had a lot of beasts. LaCharles is no BS. You look at the guys that he's coached have just done incredibly well in the National Football League for the most part, and I think that he's going to be he'll be a dynamic guy. He's coaching the offensive line at St. Ignatius right now. They open at Dublin Coughlin next week, so there's a good chance I'll see him. I talked to LaCharles for about 35 minutes. He is a monster, and he's the guy that if I was the athletic director or the head coach, he'd be my first call to say, hey, do you want to come run the O-line? Do you want to be an assistant O-line coach? Do you want to help in recruiting? Because LaCharles, you got to understand, he's the guy that was the highest paid center in the NFL. He's an Ohio State legacy alumni, and he's also a St. Ignatius graduate. So he's exceptionally intelligent. He does the game. Nobody in this world has studied offensive line play more than him because he's a personal trainer for offensive line play. So, when guys that are O-line coaches like Justin Fryer or Ed Warner or Greg Studwar or whatever, they have to study and game plan. LaCharles is working about biomechanics and how to make guys better, move better, play better, what makes them tick. And so he's an expert at making guys more efficient, making them better. And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you just look at the contracts that he's secured for his players, and it's complete insanity. So, again, LaCharles is a guy who's from Cleveland, lives in Cleveland now. He was in Arizona for 10, 12 years. Now he's back in Cleveland. His sons want to go to St. Ignatius. They're freshmen and younger, so he is back in town. So I give him a call. I mean, there's a lot of schools that are just as good as us that are calling LaCharles right now, but Ohio State is not one of them. So we will see what we can do. Karis Washington, do you see the backup quarterback changing during the season? No, I don't. I think that the backup quarterback is going to be Julian Sain. I think that he's the guy that they have anointed to be the backup. That's kind of big news coming out of camp, is that he's going to take over for Devin. I think Devin is a guy that initially will start off as the 2, but I think that internally, from what I've been told, Julian Sain is the guy. So it's going to be, he's going to be getting those reps with the second team on the offensive field during practice, and they're going to work to develop him. And the rest of the guys are going to be on the outside looking in, running scout team. So it's my opinion, but again, I've been told that, so I know that the people that I'm talking to are always in the know, so it'll be interesting to see what Julian Saint can do. Pooh Beard 12, thanks for being an Ultra member as well. I already saw this one. I apologize. Let me see. I think I got a couple more rolling along right here. Appreciate you guys with me flying solo. Nevada had an emergency tonight. Very, very happy for him. A very good emergency. I'll leave it at that. But again, I appreciate you guys. It's so funny. I saw someone say, have a baby on the podcast. Well, I don't think we can do that. All right, Googs, appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being off as well. Kirk, should Michigan sanctions include compensating Ohio State money for dodging and ducking 2020 game, not playing 2021's matchup in Columbus? Be a nice protocol courtesy. I don't think that's going to happen. It'd be fair, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that, the fact that we didn't get that next year's game was crazy when they canceled it, and we were ready to go. But that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. It's kind of how it is. But I think that we'll get a reckoning this year. This senior day is going to be as emotional and as electric as I think I've ever seen. So I really, really, I'm really excited about this Michigan game. I mean, between Jack Sawyer, Trey, Emeka, Cody Simon, this is going to be vengeful. This is going to be nasty. It's going to be fury. And I think that in November, when these guys get a chance to go out with a win and get their first pair of gold pants, that it's going to be tasty. It's going to be a tribute to the program, to the brotherhood. And like I said, we have great captains. And, when you're playing on senior day, it's kind of a gift and a curse, because when I was a underclassman and I got to watch, AJ Hogg come out and Mike Nugent come out and Troy Smith come out of the tunnel, like it's very emotional, because you're like, this is the last time I'm ever going to play with that guy in the team. And again, I was the guy that started as a freshman. I was very lucky, fortunate, but I earned my spot. This wasn't something that was given to me, but when you earn that spot, all of a sudden, like, you have a mission to go out and make sure that you send those guys out with a win. And it's funny because the only guy that went out with a loss on senior day was me. So we played Illinois in 07, lost. Obviously, a lot of you guys remember that game. We were one in the country and choked it up versus Illinois when they had Juice Williams and whatever. But you want to make sure that the seniors have the privilege and the benefit of going out of the horseshoe with a win. Which, again, that doesn't sound like much, because, most people, they're not players and they don't realize that, when you're a fan of Ohio State, you can always buy a ticket and go to the next home game, whatever. When you're a player, you don't ever, I don't ever get to play in Ohio Stadium again. Ever. Ever. For the rest of my life, as long as I live, I never get to play in Ohio Stadium, which is fine. I'm old. I'm an old head, past my prime. But, it's a privilege, and you want to walk off of that field with a victory in the last game you play, which I was unfortunate I did not get to do. Now, that being said, if you said, Kirk, if some angel appeared in front of me and said, Kirk, would you rather lose your last game in the shoe and beat Michigan in Ann Arbor, or the reverse, you win your last game in the shoe and then lose to Michigan, however that works? The way it worked out, where we sacrificed and we refocused and we lost that home game, and then we went up to Ann Arbor and won. Good as it gets. Wouldn't trade that for anything. That Michigan game in 07 up there was one of the best days of my life, because, again, when you're a senior and you're a ball of nerves and you're a panic attack and an anxiety basket, like, all of a sudden, and you get to win that game, and the best part about playing Michigan when you're a senior is you never have to play them again. Ever. Like, you never have to play them against a player. Now, I coached against them in 11, beat them in 10, lost them in 11, beat them in 12. So that, that's different. But, like, when you coach, it's just like, coaching is like 2%, playing is like 99%. When you can play, it's a whole different ball of wax. And I'm just telling you, as a player, you want that win against Michigan to go out. So, it's a huge deal. We got a super chat. I appreciate you. You guys have any ultra chats to them on there? Shannon Boyle, hope you're doing good. Yesterday, you said something about fraternity. Are most football players frat boys? Just have to know. Thanks. No. I mean, the vast majority of of players. Again, I don't know many of the white guys that are in fraternities. There might have been one, like maybe a walk-on or two might have been in a fraternity. Um, a lot of there's a good deal of the black guys that they're Q dogs. They're whatever the purple and yellow thing is. I don't know if it's like Omega Sci-Fi or Phi Psi or whatever, but um, that's something like Malcolm was one of those, and a bunch of guys on this year's team are. But like in terms of like football players, like a lot of the white guys are not in, beta or any of that stuff because like I honestly when I played I didn't even know what a fraternity was. Like I didn't even understand Greek life at all because I was like I'm too busy playing football for 5 hours a day in class, and I didn't even know what a sorority or fraternity was. I mean, I eventually learned it when I saw all of the people walking around with their stupid bags that said Pi Beta Phi or Delta Gamma or whatever. But like, I didn't know what any of that was because again, when you're a football player, you're kind of in this little tunnel. It's like a dark mind tunnel, and you can't see anything except for what's right in front of you. So you don't really have the traditional college experience, if that makes sense. I mean, again, I'm not denigrating that. Again, there's a lot of my friends that are in fraternities and they love their fraternities. A lot of girls I know are in sororities. Kim was in a sorority at Florida State. I get all that. But that being said, like, I wasn't in it. I wasn't about that life. I didn't know. I didn't care. Because, like, I'm like, look, I'm a football player. I live off campus. I'm never going to live in a frat house. I'm never going to get initiated. I'm never going to go to chapel or meetings or whatever. Like, I don't have time for that. Because, again, when you're in football, man, your entire life's different. But a lot of the black guys are Q dogs. So, which again, totally cool. I went to they had an award ceremony. I went there with Jerry Kokian. He had a huge award that he got there. So I was there at the Q dog thing, suited and booted. So you're probably hilarious for a lot of you guys. But yeah, but I can't think of any of my active teammates that were scholarship guys, high level guys that were in fraternities because you don't have time. Like you can't go do all the stuff that frat guys do when you're living a football life. Like you can't go out and, hey, we have this, mixer with the sorority on Thursday night and we're going to all wear, togas to the bar and whatever. Like we don't get to do that kind of stuff because we have to go and actually go like work and grind on the weekends. So it's different. And again, I'm not denigrating that, but I don't know anybody that was in it. All right. Well, I think we can wrap this thing up. I don't think that we have any of the ultras. Kim has been texting me those, so I appreciate you, my girl. Kim is crawling along into the land of, being a mother of three. So that should happen anytime now. So we'll keep you guys in the loop. As always, we appreciate you guys for being a big part of our show and what we do. Thank you so much. Again, this was a solo shot, but we wanted to get in that scrimmage update about what was going on. The team looks great. Captains were named. Block O, Cody Simon, congratulations. Huge honor. Honoring Bill Wallace. Appreciate you, my dude. So again, keep grinding and being yourself because you're a monster. Cody Simon is the kind of kid that you are very proud as a Buckeye. With that being said, as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please give us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all that you guys do. If you guys want to do something special for us, click on Apple Podcasts or Spotify on your iPhone or your Google device. Follow Buckeye Scoop. Click on Buckeye Scoop. Search for it. Leave us a 5-star review. Those are huge for growing our channel. And again, our channel's been growing like crazy. We can leave super chat. Paul Moss. I'm going to get this real quick as I'm finishing the show. All right, Paul. Again, I love you guys when you guys do this at the bell. This is the best. Paul Moss, thanks for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 20 as well. My friend, I hope you're having a great Saturday. Missing out on Sanders sucks. If landing him means going broke or overpricing for next year's recruits, this seems long-term to us. Cool out of Centerville should have been our focus. I agree. Like I said, here's the thing. I agree with you. If landing him means going broke or overpricing for next year's recruits, this is the long-term one for us. Again, guys, I'm telling you, we've lost guys like Jamie French and David Sanders because the price range just gets stupid at some point. when people want to be paid what Jeremiah Smith wants and then twice as much, eventually you're just like, yeah, this isn't going to work for us. And again, you know, I'm betting that a lot of this is unsustainable for a lot of these programs because again, David Sanders Jr. is going to walk into the locker room in January at Tennessee, and he's going to have this huge NIL deal. They're saying that the family's going to get a house, the family's going to get a suite. So what does that do for him when he's a true freshman and he doesn't have a good day? He gets smoked, he gets ran through, he gets bull rushed, he has a bad scrimmage, he's third team left tackle, whatever. How does that affect the morale of the team? When a guy gets a huge amount of money or in all this publicity, eventually it turns into, well, the $1 million man gave up another sack, or he gave up 3 sacks in the scrimmage, or whatever. So, I'm more about this year. That's all I care about. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want him to be upset about anything. So, that's where I'm at. So, that being said, like again, as great as it would have been to get him, I'm okay. We'll survive. Again, I would invest heavily in the portal, especially with offensive linemen. When you prove guys can play in their first team All MAC or first team All Big Ten or first team All SEC, they hit that portal and you can plug them in like Josh Simmons or Seth McLaughlin. That is the way that I want to see. Because I want to evaluate these guys in college football on college tape. I think that's the best way to build your team and to succeed. So as always, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please subscribe to our Apple Podcast channel. Search for Buckeye Scoop. Click on that. Leave us a 5-star review. Again, it's growing like crazy. Thank you to our Southern Ohio boys. Thank you to everybody across the state of Ohio, the great state of Ohio, and across the nation that are subscribing to this channel, spreading the good word. Again, this is a huge show because you guys make it one, so thank you. But what a monster tonight. Again, it's a Saturday night. Great scrimmage update. BuckeyeScoop.com had it first. So, again, I cannot wait to see you guys on the website. We'll be on there all night with big UFC picks. It's going to be a big card. 3 or 5 is going to be huge. So, again, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.